Nigerians, both the government and the people, have never been more concerned about security or insecurity in this country than they have become very, very recently. Yes, granted, the issue of insecurity is getting to become more worrisome by the day, but the concern, I mean, that Nigerians have at this time is the efforts, concerted in particular, being made to ensure that for once this issue is tackled. Now you're beginning to have what some persons have called interventionist approach to dealing with insecurity in Nigeria. First you have Motekun, now in the southwestern part of the country. You have Ogbonigwe being proposed in the southeastern part of the country, and we understand that there's Shege Kafasa coming up in the north as well. The interesting thing again is that the police authorities are now throwing their weight behind some of these initiatives. In particular, we understand that governors of the southeast have now embraced as it were, community policing initiative of the Nigerian police. We also understand that Ohaneze Dego in the southeastern part of the country is also beginning to make much stronger efforts along that line. But there are concerns too as to how all of these will culminate and create a melting pot in such a way that going forward the conversation about insecurity in this country changes for the better. Some persons are also afraid that this could just be some, for want of better words, Pandora's box, in such a way that while trying to solve one problem, we are creating several more problems that we'll try to address. But let me allow my guests to speak to these issues as they are right now. Let me begin the introduction from my immediate left. Friday Ogera, former member, House of Assembly, Edo State House of Assembly, I should say, and a lawyer. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure to be back here.
And then there's Honorable Fred Uyigwe. He's a politician and an economist. We also appreciate you coming to join us on the program this morning.
Thank you, Uyi, and good morning to you, viewers.
Barrister Nusa Adams is a member of the PDP, obviously is a politician and a lawyer. We appreciate your presence on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning, Nigerians.
Let me begin with Friday Ogera. You and I have been here a number of times to talk about insecurity in this country, but there are so many unfolding developments along that line right now. Just yesterday, Wednesday, the Federal House of Representatives called on the President to say, first, we are insisting, operative word, that you fire your service chiefs. And second, we are urging you to declare state of emergency on security or insecurity in Nigeria. Would you say those are far-reaching measures?
I will reiterate again that the call by the members of the House of Representatives in Nigeria for the resignation or sacking of service chiefs and perhaps declaration of a state of emergency remain for me mere rhetoric.
Okay.
Remain for me playing to the gallery, because we are not in want of such call in the past. It's almost like sounding like a broken record now. But to a large extent, for as much we have heard of those calls, we've never seen any corresponding solution, as it were, emanating from such call. Why do I say this? I say this because if we are looking for those, if resignation or sacking will be the solution, there are a lot of people that need to be sacked, not just the service chiefs alone, albeit that we are dealing with security challenges. But I'm telling you that there are a lot of people that need to be sacked. We cannot forget in a hurry that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, a senator of the Federal Republic, Senator Inaya Baribe, on the floor of the Senate, called for the resignation of the #1 man in this country, #1 citizen, Mr. President. And that call for me wasn't really a misplaced call. So it is not for a time, as it were, that you must now look for that a kettle will be calling pot black, or pot calling kettle black. It is not a time for blame trading. I think it's a time for, it's not also a time for scapegoatism, to look for those that should be crucified for what I believe has been a result of a system failure a system failure, because whatever we are dealing with today is the luxury we enjoyed, previously. These are manifestations of those laws, those indulgences that we grant ourselves even when we couldn't afford them. But we enjoyed it for as long as it lasted. And today, the Armageddon that was predicted, not really in the Jehovah's Witness sense of it, but all of these things that are happening today have long been predicted by political philosophers, even within the Nigerian polity, that if you fail to do certain things, if you fail to take certain action, of course, this is what you will get. And that, for me, is what we should be looking at now, because the insecurity issue that you have in Nigeria is not perhaps as a result of the incompetence of the security chiefs. I want to say that without holding brief for them. I think, like I said, it is a function, a result of a multifaceted social and economic issues. Social, economic, political. A country that for a long time failed to build a productive population, a productive population, an educated population, a country that failed in that drive, should not be surprised when you now see that these elements, these people that you fail to train, those people that you fail to provide for, that society fail to make provision for, are now ready-made materials and recruit for whatever you want to call it, whether insurgency, whether terrorism, whether banditry, whether healthcare evasion. This is what you get. So, for us to deal with this, even the legislators, perhaps talking about the National Assembly as a whole now, they need to sit down.
Are they not sitting down?
They are not sitting down properly. They are not sitting down properly. When I say sit down, I'm talking figuratively. That they should sit down and look at this issue more than the way it is. It is not sufficient for you to stand up on the floor of the House of National Assembly and call for the resignation of Assembly Chief, or call for the resignation of Mr. President. That will not solve it if you do not tackle the root cause or causes of this problem. So that is where I am coming from.
I think we need to talk about those causes, I mean, from the roots, as you already have alluded to. But let me talk to Fred now. Some years ago, we understand that Nigeria obtained a loan of about $460 million from China Exim. The idea was to plow that money, the whole money, into CCTV initiative to cover the whole of the Federal Capital Territory, Nigeria's seat of power, as they call it. Years down the line, Nigerians cannot put a finger on how that money was spent. As a matter of fact, at a point, just recently, the House of Reps initiated a probe into how that money was spent, all of the circumstances, both immediate and, as it were, remote, as far as that money is concerned. In fact, the Minister of Finance was taken to task to explain the position of that loan. Somebody had said that Nigeria is still servicing that loan up till date. If you do the math today, sir, by the exchange rate of 360 naira to the dollar, that money is in excess of 165 billion. Ironically, the House of Reps is now proposing that private buildings should install CCTV. Would you say we're placing the cart before the horse?
Well, I always support the embracing of technology in solving problems. Okay, as much as we understand technology, as much as we are comfortable with technology, because it's not just a question of embracing technology, it's the ability to apply the intricacies of the particular technology you are hoping to embrace. Okay, and in this case, we are talking about CCTV. I will not limit it to CCTV. I will just limit it to electronic security systems, because it is wider than just the CCTV. There are other components that can be brought into it to expand it and to make it more effective and more efficient. Okay. First, to talk about what might have happened to the loan taken from Exim Bank and all of that. It's obvious what has happened to it. It was embezzled, because if it was not embezzled, we would have been seeing the results being manifested in the application of the equipment and the system. We are not seeing any of that. And we are talking about something that happened, I think, about 5 or so years ago. So if we have not seen it in 5 years, with my experience with security systems, these are systems that can be installed in matter of days and months and become effective, become operational in matter of months. First, you need a robust command center from which you monitor all these gadgets, all those activities, okay, and from which you send dispatch for response and all of that. So we do not see any of that, we do not hear any of it, and so we assume it is non-existent. So if it is not existent, your guess is as good as mine as to what happened to the money. But we can safely assume that it went the way much of such expenditures and releases have been going. So coming to the issue of applying CCTVs and even almost mandating private organizations and private citizens to embrace it. I would say on private consideration, I would actually say we should encourage it, in the hope that in the future, in embracing this use of technologies, the public will be able to tie into it. Because right now, to have the public champion it, which was what that initial initiative was meant for, has failed. But I do know of a whole lot of people who have CCTVs in their homes and in their offices.
Right. Even small businesses.
Small businesses they have in their homes and in their offices, and they monitor it from a central location. Right. They have a screen that divides the points of interest. Right. You know. So it's usually a split system. You have 16, 9, 16, and such systems. So it is nice to embrace that. The one drawback that people will complain, people who are not very familiar with such electronic equipment, is that, oh, we do not have electricity, we do not have constant electricity, so how are you going to be able to monitor, you know, these systems? But those systems usually are produced with backup batteries. Okay. Okay. Some of them have batteries that will last 3 days before being recharged, some 7 days. So if you have that, whether or not you have electricity, you'll still be able to monitor your environment. Okay. It will help. And it will also help if we had the culture of assisting the police with the information we gather. There was a time when, yes, that was what the culture was. Whenever we felt that we got information that would be useful to the police, people came forward and presented that to the police. But a time also came, I don't know if you, I mean, that would be about 20 years ago, when crime was really rife, especially like in this city, when people went forward to the police, and those people eventually haven't done so in good faith and to the best of their knowledge in secrecy, were eventually attacked by armed robbers for snitching on them. So
somebody compromised intelligence. Is that the point?
So the police force can be blamed for compromising that intelligence. Okay. Okay. And so people now became apprehensive of volunteering information that could be useful to the police. So that confidence needs to be restored. The police has to work on restoring that confidence. That when the citizens have information that can be useful to solving criminal...
They can voluntarily come forward.
They can voluntarily come forward, confidently come forward, knowing that they will be safe and they will not be given up.
All right, well, we're going to talk about that collaboration because there has to be some level of synergy as far as this conversation is concerned. As I turn to Nosana, when you look at the security landscape right now, as I would call it, you realize that people are much more concerned today about security in this country than ever. The government, governors, members of the public, even socio-cultural groups across this country. Of course, Amotekun has been a conversation for weeks now. There is Shege Kafasa coming up in the north. There is Ogbonigwe in the southeast as well. We've talked about...
Here.
Exactly, of course, within our state here. We've talked about state policing time and again. Some persons are for, others are against. But there's also the discussion now that this could be a precursor to state police and ultimately change the policing landscape in Nigeria.
Well, let me tell you something. The outcome or the resultant effect of a failed system or a failed state, a collapsed structure, a structure that cannot be sustained for the effective and efficient policing or taking care of the security situation in the country. When you get to a stage where it cannot be sustained, these are things you see.
But Nigeria is not a failed state, obviously.
No, listen. We are drifting seriously towards that position now. We are drifting towards the precipice.
Okay.
You can't take that from the situation we find ourselves now. Look, fundamentally, the security situation of this country is defective. And that is consequent upon the fact that the leadership has failed the system, completely systemic failure. We are only looking at the security aspect of the collapse. There's a complete drifting from the fundamental principles on which a government is established. What is the function of government? So if we are to ask. The primary responsibility of government is to protect the very basic fundamental rights of its citizens. What are these rights? Right to good life, right to properties, right to liberty. These are the basic responsibility of any government. And by the time a situation like this is established to a point of complete distraction and destruction, then the individuals now start to think, how do we get out of it? What is giving birth to Benigwe, Amoteku, and whatever you have today is a result of the inability of the leadership, the government, to take charge fully and protect its citizens. And in doing that, let's take ourselves back to the very basics. Now, if we have a system where the security architecture is well structured, as it were those days when we were growing up, when you have native police, when you have community policing, we will not have these security challenges we are faced with today. I must tell you, we will not have them. Because any security challenges you are faced with today emanated from the community. Whether it is Boko Haram, whether it's Asaru, whether it's, name it today, they emanated from the local community. That is why we'll be advocating that we need community policing. How do you now have community efficient, effective, and result-oriented community policing? It is to see as much as possible decentralize the police system so that you have effective intelligent gathering system. Let me tell you, if for instance we have commissioner of, in Nigeria we have 774 local government area, right? If we have commissioner of police in the 774 local government area in Nigeria, we have DPOs in all the political wards in Nigeria, you have a police division in all the quarters in Nigeria, because the United Nations have repeatedly told us, and you and I know, that Nigeria is grossly under-policed. We are under-policed. So let us bring the policing policy or the policing system or the security architecture down to the grassroots. You cannot be talking of commissioner of police in Edo State that have all his heads of department, OC intelligence, OC anti-robbery squad, all of them are all in Benin here. Then the next thing you are thinking of, somebody from Benin here who is the head of intelligence, is to gather intelligence that will do with Alco Edo, that is close to 4 hours drive from Benin City. What we are saying is, let us break down this policing, this security structure, so to say, that it is not even in the position of the military to be taking care of security. It's that the thing has gotten out of hand and out of control that you're not saying that, okay, let us bring in the military. No, it's supposed to be local policing system where you have effective intelligence gathering mechanism, where you have rapid response to security challenges. Because if you see how Boko Haram generated, it started from Bulukutu, a community in Maiduguri. If we had effective intelligence gathering system, you can quickly nip it in the bud. But here we are today, it has turned to international organization. But it started from the community. So let us go back to the basis. Let us have a community policing system that will be effective, that will be efficient.
So what would say the people who nurse the fear that politicians, especially governors, can...
No, it might not be state police.
Yes.
It might not be state police. I'm not subscribing to the idea of a state police.
Okay, okay. You're particular about community policing.
Community policing is different from state policing. Let's get it right.
Right, true.
Now let us look at it this way. When you talk of state policing, you are thinking of putting the security architecture or the policing command system in the hands of politicians. As they are saying.
Is that dangerous?
It might be, it might not be. But I'm not an advocate of the state police.
Okay.
Because it could be possibly be misused. It can be possibly misused. It's a possibility. But if we have a police, we operate a federal system of government. In a federalism that wants to work, there are things you allow states to take care of. Okay. There are things you allow the federal unit to take care of. But because of our level of development, I subscribe to the idea that we are not ripe enough for state police because of our socio-political evolution that is still upcoming. But if we want to have community policing, like we used to have those, the way we have native police, let us break it down. It is not in the right command for you to say a commissioner of police will take care of 192 wards in Edo State. And in addition to that, you are bringing in technology that you didn't generate, you didn't manufacture, you didn't create. And any technology you are bringing for this 21st century life we find ourselves, maintenance culture must be well arranged. So all this equipment they are bringing in, why do we have problems with them? Because maintenance is difficult. Now they collected money from Benzin, collected the money from China, Here we are today now. They installed those CCTV virtually in all the major streets in Abuja. But today I can tell you none of those systems are working.
But did they ever work?
They said they worked for a week or thereabout. But today I know they are not working because I was in Abuja, I was seeing someone there that are moribund. But what we are saying is, yes, we need technology for crime prevention and possibly detection. Right. But when it comes to effective policing, it is intelligence gathering.
Okay, we're going to talk about intelligence a little more, gentlemen. But let me talk to Friday again. Nosa here just made reference to the fact that crime should be prevented. In other words, the approach should be preventive. Those who have been saddled with the responsibility of ensuring security should be more proactive. Yes. But a lot of persons argue that Nigerians are more reactive to situations like this. And then there are also those who point fingers at politicians. Incidentally, all three of you gentlemen are politicians. They also talk about how the politicians can decide to compromise the system, exploit the system, take undue advantage of the system just to win, accomplish certain goals. But the boomerang effect rubs off on members of the public. There's some truth in that.
Very well, very well. First, I will start by referring us again to what happened yesterday at the National Assembly. Okay. You know, that is a reactive measure, not necessarily preventive. When you hear, people have been killed, 30 persons burned to death in Maiduguri, Some people died, abducted. Then you come to the National Assembly and start raising motions that are, for me, that appears half-hearted. If we even see the conduct of the legislator yesterday, I saw it. I monitored the news on ITV, and the footage I saw when the matter was being raised and discussed on the floor of the assembly. You saw National Assembly members, strutting about the eyes, and some people having some private discussion with their colleague. For at a time when like you mentioned before, everybody, all hands ought to be on deck to discuss this matter and find a lasting solution to it. So that those who have said that we are not proactive, are very, very correct. I said so in my opening remark, when I said that this is what we fail to plan for. Being proactive is not like something you do today. It's something or you have to have made provision for yesterday. If you make provision for it yesterday, then by today, before the crime is perpetrated or the security challenge even arise, you would have nipped it to the bud. So you have a situation in Borno State from the report we had, where certain stranded passengers, were willfully murdered and burnt. At a time where, of course, there ought to be high security alert in all of that region. Talking about Yobe, Meduguri, Adamawa, all of the East region. For that to happen, it shows that
in the capital of a state.
In the capital of a state, so it shows that there was lapses, there was the kind of report that we get about all of that area. We have military presence. There was a time they said they were going to relocate the command center of the military offensive against insurgency to the northeast. So if that can still happen, where we have relocated the command headquarters, as it were, to the northeastern region, it shows that some of these things we do not do them with kind of commitment, honesty, and sincerity of purpose. We just do them for drama purpose. Like I said, because like what happened yesterday at the National Assembly, we like too much of drama. And this is not a problem we are going to be able to solve, with so much drama. We need to sit down. You want to ask yourself, what is the defense or security policy of this country? What is it that is driving our defense and security operations? Is it when you hear that people are buying CCTV in London or China or America that you now say, okay, we need CCTV? You must be able to study the problem very well and know the relevance of that CCTV, or like my brother mentioned, the electronic security system, how it's going to work in your own environment. So that is what we should be doing. That is what this idea about proactivity is all about. Because like people will say, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. And that is what we are seeing. Now you still find in Nigeria that all of the so-called security arrangement, they are all elitist driven. They are elitist driven. If edit what the realities of our environment is anything to go about, you see that you still see battalions of soldiers, following one top-ranking government officer or a very rich citizen in the country. You still see the deployment of police, solely to protect certain influential individuals. That is not the kind of security arrangement that befits the kind of situation that we find ourselves today. And I mentioned before that dealing with this hydra-headed security problem does not necessarily stop with or end with just physical measures. You have to consider some other factors. You have to consider the economic factor. You have to consider the political factor. Today, you are aware that, like you mentioned, the politicians, are being blamed for some of these things that are happening. How did Boko Haram even comment? How did they gather? How were they able to bolster the early fund with which they started? Was it not the patronage that were given to them by certain politicians for certain objectives? So we don't have to actually consider what is the character of those persons that we send to government. What is their character? What is the criteria for which you elect people or you appoint people to offices? We have failed all this while as politicians, you know, as a people, you know, with a government, so to speak, to fully integrate. To integrate the people of this country to continue so that they can have confidence that wherever they are in this country belongs to them. Today, what is it that is fueling? What is it that is fueling insurgency? What is it that is fueling banditry? What is it that is fueling what is it called now? Terrorism. Is it not because that there's mutual suspicion? It's not because the people do not really understand, you know, the basis of the faith that they profess. Why would for instance, a seminary school in Kaduna State be a lame dog for insurgents to come into at a particular point in time in the night, take away some seminarians, take them to the forest, and at the end of the day, only 3 of them survived, and a life was lost. Even if it was one life, it is a life that for me it was too many to be lost in that circumstances.
Let's begin to talk about solution now, gentlemen, as we wind down quickly. There's supposed to be some collaboration, especially amongst the security outfits, the security agencies themselves. There have been reports, there have been some analysis that for the better part, these security agencies work at cross purposes. Now, if there's any iota of truth in that, it portends a lot of danger, because until there is a common front against the enemy, which is the issue of insecurity, ranging from Boko Haram to the herdsmen issue to kidnapping and banditry, it means we can't move forward. How do we carve a future forward in light of the insecurity challenge we're dealing with in this country, Fred?
I want to support the initiative of the Southwest in constituting an organization to begin to tackle that, at least for their region, Amotekun. Okay. And I want to applaud those other regions that are also copying that. I believe, like Barrister Adam said, this nation started as a quasi-confederalism, okay? We're a partial confederate state, nation. That's what we were. But we drifted because of the Civil War and the longevity of military dictatorship to a unitary state. That we have become a unitary state where all the powers are concentrated in the center. You see, whenever you have a system that is not sufficiently devolved, whether it's in economics, social, or security, or military, you are going to have problems because you are not delegating enough. You must delegate authority and delegate powers and functions down the line for those who are on ground to execute. We don't have that. If you have a situation where you have to wait for a long time, because it's going to go through the chains of command, several chains, to the top, before you get response back down, you are going to lose time, and you are going to operate inefficiently. You want to be able to be efficient. So you want to be close to the point of authority at the time you are operating. So that is the great argument for the devolution of powers, which our system lends itself to very greatly because of the very diverse nature of the country. Diverse in tongues and tribes, diverse in our religions. The United States system, for example, is a confederation. These different states, they have, for example, the National Guard. The National Guard is a military unit, and those military units are responsible to their state governors.
Okay.
Okay? They are the first point of response for securing and for protecting their states, their respective states.
The individual states.
Their individual states. Okay? That is the same fear that we are having with the amount of mutual suspicion that we have that Barrister Ogereke referred to. It has become necessary for these different regions or zones to now establish a quasi-military, quasi-police systems. So once you have these police systems, how do you want them to metamorphose? How do you want to train them? If we must remove mutual suspicion, then we must have sufficient independence to be able to assure us of our security, because we no longer have confidence in the national security or in the resolve of the nation to secure the different zones equitably.
Okay.
Okay, so we are looking at that. That is one aspect to look at. Then I want to speak specifically to the very misunderstanding of like the American system, which we often refer to, the police system, as community policing, state policing, and all of that. That is not what it is. The umbrella policy of the U.S. police system is professionalism. It's a professional police system, not just community. The community and state and city or county police systems all come out from that professional umbrella.
As an offshoot.
Yes. The professional umbrella is you have institutions, because the fundamentals of policing are the same worldwide. It's just like you want to study medicine or you want to study a science degree. You must start with the basics.
Right.
Physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics. Okay? So it is with policing. There are fundamentals to policing. Okay? So they have police colleges scattered all over the country. If you apply to any of the police colleges and you graduate as a policeman, you can take that certificate and go to another state and sit for reciprocity exams to familiarize you with the specific laws of the state so that you can function in that state as a policeman. And you know that as humans, there will be times when we will need to be occupationally mobile.
Right.
Even as policemen, when you need to move from one exigency, maybe you have medical issues that cannot be attended to in one particular area. You need to go somewhere else. So you need to be able to do that. So if we can embrace professional policing,
yes,
and then tie in this community and state police and all of that into it, which will be more efficient and more effective.
Okay, for time's sake, I just want to start to lend his voice to that as we bring this discussion to a close. We must make progress with insecurity. I mean, the fight against insecurity. We're all in Nigeria now, and we're going to be here for the foreseeable future. The country is ours. Basically, we can't run away from that. Going forward, how do we surmount all of these insecurity issues?
Simple, just simple. Not, you see, before I give a definite answer to that question, let me first of all refer you to what is going on, Amateku, Ogbenigwe, and all this. It will not help us when it comes to security in this country. It is not going to help us because we have had the civilian JTF in Borno and Yobe and Adamawa State. It didn't just work. And in any case, Amateku, whatever you go to establish at the state level, will be in outright contradiction, will be in conflict with the provision of the Constitution and the provision and the extant provision of the Police Act.
Okay.
That is a federal legislation. So you can't be legislating at the state level to police, because at the end of the day, because of those laws, because of those laws, you are still going to go through the Inspector General of Police to the President to ask for license to bear arms.
Right.
For those guys you are going to employ. Because there is no way you are going to have a Moteco in the southwest without they carrying arms. How are they going to get arms? You still going to go through the IG to the president to get permission for them to get arms.
True.
So it's as good as you are reversing back now to the same persons, the same authority that is saddled by the provisions of the Constitution and the Police Act to take charge of security in this country. The president is Nigeria's #1 security officer.
Okay.
So what we are saying is, instead of having civilian JTF, having Amoteku, having Ogbenigwe, that at the end of the day we still go back to the president and be running counter to the provisions of some of the extant laws we have now. Why not give your police men effective professional training? Give them the right equipment. give them the right motivation, decentralize the police structure we have now, localize policing, and that is what we need. Let me tell you, what is going on now is going to aggravate the crisis. Before the civilian JTFs were created, both in Yobe and Adamawa and Borno State, the security situation we have in those states now were not as grievous, not as dangerous, not as devastating as we have now. We have close to 10,000 civilian JTF, yet there are still attacks virtually every day in those states.
So that is to say, these measures are not holistic.
No, they are not holistic. They are not going to help us. But do you know what is going to help us? Let us come back to the basics. And I don't subscribe to the idea of always adopting American system, British system. No, don't please, my brother. What the system? Let us be as much as possible be ingenious. Let us be autonomous.
So you are advocating homegrown solutions.
Homegrown solution, and our homegrown solution will be number one. Let us recruit the right persons to our police force. 2, give them effective, efficient training and get them well kitted. 3, give them proper and juicy motivations. 4, which is most important, break down the command structure. Break down the command structure of our security agencies. They try to do it with the DSSS by having DSS in all the local governments and in all the wards. But it didn't just work because they were not properly equipped to carry out their functions. But let me tell you, if today, like we have commissioner of police in Edo State, we need 18 commissioner of police in Edo State, not just one.
Each for a local
each for a local government. So that in Nigeria we have 774 commissioner of police. Then in Edo State, we need not less than 2 to 3 divisions in each of the wards. That is to say, we must increase our police strength, the workforce of our police force. Then once you increase the workforce, get enough personnel for the security arrangement we have, both for the police, both for the DSS, and even possibly for other security agencies. Then after that, get them properly kitted, prepare them for it. Then you will now have efficient and effective intelligence gathering system. Because no, do you know why? Every crime starts from 2-3 persons. Starts from a local community. Every crime. The planning.
That takes us again to the issue of preventive.
The United Nations has
incidentally,
the police.
Incidentally, gentlemen,
we have recommendations.
We have to deal with time constraint here. It's obvious that this conversation is not only long drawn out, but it's going forward. It's one conversation we're going to have to continue to bring to the fore because this issue is dynamic apparently, and we'll always get to a rendezvous at some point, whether on TMI or any of our other programs, both on radio and television, to continue to have this conversation with brilliant Nigerians like these 3 gentlemen on the program this morning. I want to thank especially Fred Ogeriaki, Fred Uyigwe, and Nosa Adams for coming. We appreciate you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break now.